This conference will now be recorded.
Hello everyone, a warm welcome back to one and all. So in today's session, we will start focusing more on AWS part starting from today. So as part of this session, I'll give you a little overview about the AWS Management Console and how AWS builds accordingly. And then we will understand a little more about AWS infrastructure, global infrastructure, and then we'll get started for the identity and access management part of it. Before I go ahead and get started for the day, can I expect all of your confirmation regarding your account creation? Did you go ahead and got your account created? Any challenges you faced while creating an account? Okay, good to hear. Right. So if you have created people, then it's good start. Let's spend some time. I'll give you an idea about how AWS works accordingly. So the account that you have created falls under AWS free tier account. So I'll give you a quick summary of what is this account is all about. So starting from yesterday, for the next 1 year, your account will be under free tier. So once your account is under free tier, you will get some privileges. So the privileges are as follows. The privilege that you get or compute. What do you mean by compute? Under compute service, they offer the servers, virtual servers, like your virtual machines. In AWS, we call them as Amazon EC2. So they would be giving you Amazon EC2 with compute consumption credits about 750 hours. That is about 750 hours we get. What does it mean? Very, very simple. If you launch a machine, what kind of machine? If you launch a machine which is of T2.micro. Now don't go into all those details. What is T2.micro? T2.micro is just as simple as 1 core CPU, 1 GB of RAM. If you launch that instance for one time, if it is running for 1 hour, that means out of 750 hours, 1 hour is deducted. That means you have now in your account a credit of 750 hours for your EC2 instance. People, are you with me? So it's like you have some credits in your account, 750 hours. You launch a machine, you launch a server, virtual server. What kind of server? You people have launched virtual machines physically, no more physical servers now. Cloud servers will focus. So in the same way, when you go ahead and launch a server, which is of T2.micro with Linux operating system, RHEL, Red Hat Enterprise Linux. So what does it say? 750 hours are given to you. So let's assume that you have launched one single VM. So it was running for 1 hour. That means 1 hour of consumption is done. Let's say you run that machine for 24 hours. 24 hours of consumption is done. If that machine runs for whole month, so people, how much? 24 hours in a day multiplied by 30. So 720 hours of consumption in a month for one machine. So what does it mean? It means you have 750 hours of credit, out of which you have consumed for 1 month. Whole month the machine was running. You started today, next 24th of October, still for 1 month the machine was running. So what AWS would do, it would deduct 750 minus 720. So 30 hours of, still you have credit in your account. 30 hours of credit still you have. So AWS won't charge you for it because it's still you have some credits, right? You have 750 hours of extra credit, 30 more credits still you have. Now, this is for one instance. Now assume that you have launched 10 such instances like that. On day one, today you launched 10 machines. So how much of the consumption? 10 times 7,200 minus 750, approximately 6,000 hours of extra consumption. You don't need to do that. Or how your credits will get exhausted. Let's say you launch 10 machines. Let's say I'll put it here, 10 machines you launched. So what is your consumption on day one, people? For the 10 machines you launched, what is the consumption? Right? 240. Why 240? 10 machines, 24 hours. 240 consumption is done. Day two, another 240 hours are consumed. Day three, another 240 hours are consumed. Day four, another 240 hours are consumed. You'll finish your credits on day four only because you already crossed 240, 240, 240, 240, 960. So day four, 960. 750, you already crossed on day four. So 960 on fourth day, your credits that you have consumed is 960. Available credit limits, so 210 extra hours of consumption is done. So AWS would charge you for these extra hours. People, are you getting now how billing works? This is not the exact billing, people. I'm just giving you an idea to understand how AWS makes a charge for you. Can I expect a confirmation quick from every one of you there? Clear? Now, if you have two machines, it is the credit that is given to you. So they will subtract the credit. So if you're running two machines, so two machines for 24 hours. So this is something like a credit. So you use credit for one machine, 10 machines. It's up to you now. Clear? People, is that clear to all of you? Right. Now, in the same way, moving on from EC2, like we have S3, storage, RDS, plenty of services. So AWS says, I'll give you 5 GB of storage per month. Another point, this 750 is not pro-rotated. But what do you mean by like if you did not use 750, it will not get accumulated for the next month. No, it won't work like that. So it is not about the pro-rotated in the sense like you are not consuming 750 hours. Will it go ahead and add to that next month 750 hours? No, you have to consume or it will get resolved. Like this 750 hours are only applicable for month. See here, it clearly stated per month. If you don't use it, drop. Your credits are dropped. Next month, you'll get another 750 hours. I remember people will definitely ask me this. What would happen to my 750? Gone. So if you want to use it for the month. Otherwise, you cannot get added to the next month. It will not get added to the next month. Make sure that you use it. And for your practice, 750 hours is way more than enough. Another important point, every month you will get these 750 hours. Likewise, every month you will be getting free allowance up to 5 GB. That is like you upload files which are not more than 5 GB, you won't get charged. But if you put more than, let's say you put some 7.5 gigabytes of storage. So extra 2.5 gigabytes of storage you are getting charged, not for the 7.5 gigabytes. Yeah, people? Fine. So this is how your pricing will happen. This is not the pricing. This is not only the way to price. There are other factors that AWS will do, which is under the calculator will do sometime how the pricing will happen. But I'm giving you how you will be able. This is how you should be able to understand your credits. Understanding of the credits can happen in a better way when you know how to use your credits. Okay, so it's time for us to log into the console. So this is the management console. People understand that account is the AWS account that you have registered. So console is a UI screen for you to log in. It is management console is not your account. Account is different. Account is something that you hold with AWS. So AWS, you are holding an account. Sign in, you are signing into the AWS account using console here. This is a console method. Now, using console one method, there's another method which we call it as CLI method. Command lines. Through commands that we will execute our account execution. We will access our servers. Console is UI part. You can see everything there inside of it. Most importantly, there are two tabs in it. One is root user, another one is IAM user. You are root user right now because you own this account. So you are the root user. Root user has every privilege almost to that of a admin or super user. He has every right possible a root user will have. IAM user, we will discuss later. IAM users are some, like under your account, you have some privileges like your employees that you want to get access, so you allow them to access via IAM user. I'll explain you much more in detail with the IAM once we get started with the account. But this is something which I want you to understand is root account is something that you will right now log in because your account is now, you are a root holder, root account holder. So even before I log in, I would like to spend some time regarding the AWS. Let me just go ahead. Give me a moment, people. Let me just log into my root account. I'll be back in a minute. In the meanwhile, I'll be. I hope my screen is visible to all of you there. Right. So thank you. This is the welcoming page which says AWS Management Console. So this is the management console. This is the method that you would. This is one method I say to connect your account. AWS, you are holding an account with AWS. You will have an account ID. I'll show you where you will find your account ID. For now, to access this account ID or access this account via the system, console is one method, management console. Under that, you will see the list of AWS services that are categorized that involves compute, storage, networking databases, a lot of stuff. On the other side, you see there's a tab that speaks about personal information, global infrastructure with regards to regions, and the support. So let's first explore a little more about your account. So if you want to get more insight, and also you'll notice that this number is your account ID. So whenever, if I need you to, if I need you people to access your account ID, please use this account ID. It is very important. This is your account ID. I would like to spend time on this dashboard part, which is your billing dashboard. So always make a plan on a day-to-day basis. Whenever you log in, the first thing that I want you to do is to go ahead and check your billing. What is the billing that is happening onto your account on a day-to-day basis? People, you guys are now under free tier. My account has already done with the free tier long back ago. So whatever I consume, I get the bill accordingly. So right now on your screens, you can see that this is my consumption mentioned in the usage. On the other side, you see the costing happening for the current month, which is at 8.61 US dollars, and that could end up at $10 if my consumption is going at the same rate. I'll end up at $10. But for you people, you're under free tier, so you will have almost, the pricing will almost be like I believe it should be zero. You should not expect to go beyond. If in case mistakenly, if you launch something and forget to terminate or delete that instance, delete your resources. Rest of the time, most of the resources are free of cost, so you can practice them because instead of saying free of cost, it's like you have credits for them, so it will compensate. How much you use, you'll get your compensation in the form of credits. If you want to get more insights about the limits with regards to free tier usage, you have this. Like CloudWatch S3 is giving me some requests for which I'm getting charged. 5 GB of ingestion data is allowed for me, so I didn't use anything. SNS requests, 1 million, 100,000 requests are available, so I've used only 56 requests out of it. Like key management services, 20,000 requests, I've used 81 of it. So what I want you to understand is the limit that is going to how much you have used till date, a month to date. If you want to know more about other services in terms of your usage and the bill, this is all about the bill, how much of the bill that you consume. So your bill is majorly happening on EC2. My bill is majorly happening on EC2. Now I'll be showing you more about the invoices that you will get. So this is what is the consumption, 8.61, $10. So it's like 1st of October, my bill is expected to get generated. So once the bill gets generated, if my bill was around $10, I'll get an invoice. No, now it is not bill, it's now invoice for about $10. Now it is the invoice that I need to pay. It will be available under your orders and invoices, which you need to make the payment for. Whatever your previous month's invoices, I have these previous month's invoices shown up here. If you get your invoices created, you'll be able to see those invoices here. For an example, invoice. This is how your invoice looks like, and this is how it shows up. Your organizations need these invoices, so your invoices will be given to you, and your consumption and services usage will be shown up. Next, I want to know more about the usage, more about the service, more about the consumption, better to reach to bill. Let me show you in the month of September what services I've consumed and what are the pricing for it. Most of the services are falling under Elastic Cloud Compute, which is EC2, nothing but your virtual servers. In that, you can see it is all about EC2 instances that I consume. So just an example, my region I picked is Ohio. I'll tell you what is Ohio, all this stuff a little while from now. In that, you can see there are some servers that I'm using, which was costing me T2.micro instance hours. So AWS will multiply the number of hours of consumption you do with the hourly cost, $0.016 for an on-demand Linux machine. What 30 hours have consumed? So they have multiplied the factors and they got the pricing for it. But for you people, you are under free tier, these will get compensated. So your credits will overtake your consumption. Likewise, I've used another region resources, so pricing usage for it. I want everyone to remember that NAT gateways are chargeable. Most of the people, what they do is they tend to forget to release the NAT gateways. They're very chargeable, very much chargeable. If you use that, you'll get charged for it. Please do remember, please release your NAT and get it done. Another drawback I want you to understand is that, let's assume you started with the NAT gateway. I'll explain you what is NAT gateway in some time. You started it. You used only for 30 minutes. AWS cannot charge you for 30 minutes. AWS will round it off to the next 1 hour. So you will get charged for 1 hour. That means I might have used maybe 10 minutes on an average for each hour. So 10 minutes, next 1 hour. Another 10 minutes, 2 second hour. Another 10 minutes, 3 hours. So still AWS will charge me for hourly basis. Please do remember this. Likewise, storage part, EBS, Elastic Block Store, is a storage for your drive, like your C or D drives, where your operating system will be running. This is the storage that I am getting charged for. Load balancers are chargeable resources. Apart from that, what more charges that I incurred? I used Route 53, which is a DNS service, and I'm getting charged for it. So don't worry, people. On a day-to-day basis, whichever the services are chargeable, you will get a notification from my side that whether to use or not to use. If you use it, what should be the timeline for the usage? So I'll make sure that is done for you so that you guys can practice it accordingly. Okay. Now, once this process is done, I want everyone to notice something called regions. There are some regions and there are some zones. So what is this all about? So just type in AWS infrastructure or infrastructure.aws. I give you the URL. Very good URL. You guys just can browse this URL. So this is a live view of AWS data centers, AWS servers, services, what they offer. So you can just see how you do it, and you will get to know their global infrastructure. So this is how AWS is right now offering its services. They have the primary most top point of view is their regions. Regions are nothing but they have their presence there. So region is nothing but a geolocation on the map where they have the presence there. From region starting, the next thing is their availability zone. Availability zones are nothing but you can take your data centers, Amazon data centers, you can make them as part of the availability zone, or you can consider them as actual data centers. So it's like, take one region, let's say Bombay. Bombay is now a region. In Bombay, 3 locations: central part, eastern part, western part. They might be next to each other, they might be away. So we don't have any nobody will share the exact information for a data center. It's just they will give you. Actually, they don't even brand a data center. Data centers don't get branded like AWS data center, Ohio data center, Bombay data centers. No company will do branding for data center. So it is just that you have to understand that there is a region and AWS is spread right now in 24 regions. So from that region, it starts to focus on availability zone, which are nothing but so the presence of the data centers forms your availability zones, and in order for having connectivity purposes, they don't have now the data centers like end user might access it from a data center, but in order to have end user computing even more faster and reliable, they depend on POPs, point of presence, but they don't manage these POPs. So they take the advantage of these POPs. POPs are nothing but, you can also consider it as data center, but it is a smaller version of They don't have such massive data centers. They like connect us. They connect it. It's like a server office. It's like an office with the servers running connectivity. They do amplification. So if you want to see the live view of the regions, you see uh, the regions coming from Europe, the regions part of Americas, the region are based out of Middle East and in Bombay. So in Bombay, if you look at, it's like central, east part and west part. So it doesn't mean that there is availability zone and you will definitely find it. They gave you a rough estimation of that, but that's not the location of the data centers. Because of security reasons, they don't share it. So Bombay is the data center for Indian organizations, like companies who are looking forward to use India as their base for running their applications. Like there are plenty of customers from India. I cannot name those customers, but there are plenty of customers who have already shifted their base to Bombay. When there was no Bombay, everything was running in Singapore region. I was one among the Indian community where I had a chance to run applications on Singapore, especially for the healthcare products. So a lot of healthcare products got deployed in Singapore region. Then most of the companies completely shifted onto their operations in Bombay. Why, you might be guessing by this time, because it makes it easier for them to have their operations hosted off Bombay, latency is lesser. So there are factors for it. So don't worry about those factors. That's not a primary concern. If you want to see the availability zones, you'll come to know with those green color icons, nothing but your, let's say if you go higher as a data center, now you can see those availability zones. So availability zones is how is your region spread happening. So let's assume that I put my primary data center in Bombay for my application and high availability, or for my disaster recovery, I put it in Singapore region. That means if my primary goes down, I want my entire routing to happen from Singapore region. We do have customers doing that. We do have customers who are based out of Ohio. They have their offices in one customer. They have their office in Ohio, and they have their data center running in Europe region, Frankfurt. Frankfurt there, right? The one which you can see in the form of dotted lines is connectivity. That is nothing but your network. So the global infrastructure primarily comprises of AWS infrastructure that is spread across different regions, zones, and latest introduction is Cape Town. So regions are nothing but the geolocation where AWS said to have a presence, is having a presence in the form of zones. Zones are nothing but your data centers. Zones comprises of actual data centers. Right. Right. So never companies will never be knowing. See, it's up to, it's like this. You as an end customer, let's assume that you are hosting your application in Bombay. You're hosting your application in Bombay and your data is coming from Bombay. Suddenly the Bombay is down, and do you want your customers to know that the traffic is coming from Singapore? Do you want your customers to know that the traffic is coming from Singapore? For you, you are aware that because of the failover, the traffic is coming from Singapore, but you don't want your customers to know. We don't, and we shouldn't allow the customers to know, because for a customer, it's just a service running without interruption. Point of presence is nothing but your POPs, edge locations. Let me give you easy way to understand POPs. So between you and a data center, they're far. Let's say your data center is very far, Bombay. Let's assume that I'm based out of Hyderabad. For me, Bombay data center is far. So for me, I need a connector in between me and Hyderabad. So between me from my location to Bombay data center in Hyderabad, they should have some kind of connector. They cannot put a line, they cannot put a wire, they cannot draw a network for it. So they are dependent on the local vendors. So they allow this connection to happen, like for connectivity purpose. Point of presence. We call it as POPs. You can see here the POPs. These are your POPs. Clear to all of you people? Any questions on this global infrastructure part? It's nothing
So,
complex, but just for your information purpose.
Rachala, those POPs are nothing but just the simple ISPs, like Internet Service Provider, which gives us the internet, right?
Absolutely right. Right.
Okay.
Absolutely right. But because of the no, we shouldn't mention that. But what you're understanding is right. It's like your local vendors, like Airtel, like your Reliance, GPS. These are people who are doing connectivity, right? So AWS cannot come to every household and they cannot offer this service. So they're dependent on local vendors. They get it done. In US, they are dependent on AT&T. In India, they're dependent on local vendors. So if you go through their documentation, you'll be able to get an idea. You look at this. In India, you will get a lot of partners. So these are the partners that are giving you POPs, point of presence. Via these vendors, they'll go.
Just one small more thing. Just wanted to ask regarding those machine-less servers which we are talking about. Can you hear me, Rachala?
Yeah, please go ahead. I'm with you.
Yeah. So you said all those regions or the availability zones. Those are what, like, basically those are the hard machines that is located over there, and over on that we are using this machine-less servers. Is that like, is something like that, or?
Okay, let me try. Let's assume that you picked up uh, Ohio as a region. So in that Ohio region, AWS says, okay, but since you picked up Ohio region, somewhere in east part of Ohio region, they have their big data center. Inside that data center, they have 12 level of zone security. Inside that have servers. Inside that servers, they have the hardware along with their entire infrastructure. They now from somewhere in India, you try to connect to this Ohio data center. From that Ohio data center, you connect to that server. So it is like your server, your EC2 instance, your machines are running there in Ohio data center, and you're trying to connect it, and you're trying to run your applications on top of it. Here, so that is what is a region, and region comprises of availability zone that goes to your data centers, and that's where your servers are getting hosted. Yeah.
Okay, okay, got it.
Thanks.
Sorry for bothering you.
Let's come back. Yeah, please.
So in the use case where you're saying that if at all we are having the local center as in Bombay, and if in case that goes down, we'd be having a backup in Singapore, right? So in that case, if you consider an application which logs all the data or the information in Bombay, so if that goes down, it means we need to have the same data in Singapore as well, right? So it's a kind of having the same resources and the same infrastructure in Bombay and Singapore, right?
Okay, please.
So in that case, it's a kind of a replication, right?
Done with the question?
Wouldn't that be a kind of having the same setup?
Okay.
doubling up the cost of the, I mean, because of the utilization of the resources or something?
Very good question. Appreciate it. See, now it's all about cost versus business. AWS says, okay, we are offering you a service. Now you put your primary in one region. Okay. Let's say you put primary in Bombay and you put another region like secondary, which is Singapore in this case, or Ohio, anywhere, somewhere in Singapore. Now, if you want to run this in active mode, then you have to pay a lot of money for it. It's up to you and it's up to the company how they want, or they can go within this way that they can put down entirely the Singapore is ready, but what they can do, they can take a backup from Bombay region, okay, backup from entire resources from the Bombay region, and then restore that in Singapore region. It's another way. The other way is Singapore region, they don't start, they keep in stop mode. They're not running at all. In Singapore, I can keep them active, but this time they're not running. But once there is a disaster, let me start. So it's up to the company what mechanism, what plan they wanted to go. They want to go in an active mode. They want to go in a mode where it is there but it's not running. So if you look at the cost is very much high in active mode. But in other one which is not running, there is very much less cost. So this comes under AWS disaster recovery planning, which we will discuss a lot more detail when we are in disaster recovery planning. So what does disaster recovery planning says? What is your plan? Do you want to go ahead and put a lot of money in active mode, or do you want to put less money with what do you call it as less money for running resources? So it's up to the company. If they want to invest more money, they'll get an active site. If not, they will get the site, but they will be in not active mode. Here, people.
Thanks for the deep down explanation. But
so this plan we call it as disaster.
So yeah,
Go
sorry
ahead.
for the description. So in everything is fine, but in this particular first case where it is active and active, so is it exactly the replication of the resources in the secondary region as well, or else it's just a kind of having a cache memory or something else which would be a lesser utilization when compared with the primary like the data center, whatever. I mean, of course, yeah. In terms of the
Right.
business,
So
then
now,
obviously.
right. So if I have to answer that question, we will definitely discuss this idea in much more detail when we are in disaster recovery. But for now, if this is primary mode, when there is a database, especially there is a database, what I will do, I'll put my database here, okay, and I'll put my read replica here, okay, in case, and it's kind of a replication that is happening. And if this goes down, I'll give this one as my master privilege. Like I'm making it as my master because this services are down here. It's very simple. Instead of running my Bombay data center as my primary, the primary is now shut down. So I will promote my slave to my master because the replication is happening across these two locations. Just one way to handle it. Here.
Yeah. Thank you.
Welcome. So now, people, let's continue discussion here. So the quick summary of what we have discussed, the summary of our discussion was primarily all about the global infrastructure. Let me just give you a quick snapshot. If you just type in AWS global infrastructure, this is good if you have an insight or knowledge about it. If you scroll down, you see a quick snapshot of how these locations, they have about 24 regions right now. 3 more regions yet to come with 77 availability zones. So if you look at the console, you will get to know the regions. Starting from Virginia, Ohio, California, Oregon. So you'll get the regions and the way they notate the nomenclature that is used for writing this name. US hyphen East hyphen 2 is the name of Ohio, or you call it as. US East hyphen 2 is the region. 2A, 2B, 2C are zones. There are some services that are very much region specific, and there are some services that are not specific, they are global. Like just now, you should have noticed when I've gone up to the billing section, when I click my billing, it clearly said it's global. It should have been picking up a region, but no, it didn't pick up a region. If I go ahead and pick up any other service, like instance, for example, EC2 instance. EC2 instance is a virtual server offering from AWS. Look at now it is whatever the region you have picked, it is that region. Can I expect a quick confirmation from all of you regarding the simple difference between region specific and global? It's very, very important. You will come across a lot of scenarios, services where they are region specific. They are what we call it as global services. It's very important for you to understand. No problem, I'll repeat it. Let's pick up a very, very simple example. How about now, people? Am I audible enough?
Yeah, but not able to see the screen.
Right. There was a discussion happened. Yeah. How about now? Am I audible and is my screen visible?
Yeah, looks good.
So I was just highlighting about the billing service. Look at a billing service. Billing is also a service from AWS. So under the billing service is getting binded to particular region. Does it get binded to a particular region? No, it won't get binded to any particular global service. But another service like AWS EC2 instance is region specific. That means if you launch a EC2 instance in Ohio, it will be in Ohio region only. That means it cannot spread across another region. Another way to understand is, let me pick up another service like S3. S3 is a storage service in AWS. You pick up S3, please do notice what region does it belong to? Is it Ohio region specific? No, it is global. S3 doesn't need any region selection because we don't need any kind of region to be selected to create and then create a bucket. So analogy of bucket is very, very simple. Like in your drive, you create a folder. Similarly, we have S3 that is a kind of object-based storage. It's like objects. You create a bucket. So let me just give you a quick insight about the bucket. What do you mean by bucket? It's like your folder. You create a folder and give a unique name. So I'll go ahead and give a unique name called randomness very much required, so let me give file. I give random because unique name should be followed for a bucket. Okay, region, I have to bind it to a particular region, right now Ohio region, and just go ahead and create a bucket for now. Don't get into all these details, don't worry. We will do all this stuff in a little more detail regarding it, but for now, the aim is to give you an understanding what do you mean by bucket and what is the use of that bucket. Now, people, I hope you guys can see now a bucket in my account. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and show you the contents of it. Now it's an empty bucket. So what do you mean by bucket? Bucket is nothing but a kind of structure, folder structure, where you can start posting files in it. Now I can do a file upload. Upload a file upload. I can go ahead and do an upload for this. Now the file is getting uploaded. The file will be available for your access. So now, if you look at the contents of this bucket, you see there is a file inside in it. Yeah, there is a file now. So this is primarily targeted to store your objects inside in it. So as a user, let's assume that now I have users with me. Let's say you people are part of my project and I have to give you access to the objects inside this bucket. So what are the objects inside this bucket? This file. I should be giving you access to this file. You'll be giving access to this file. So what kind of actions you can do? File upload, create a bucket, create access, put object, delete object. I'm placing an object, I'm deleting an object. These actions are to provide. The point I want to bring from this learning is that under the AWS, there are plenty of services that fall under global, that fall under regional specific services. Every service, what kind of access do you like access? What kind of access should be given to you? What kind of access shouldn't be given to you? So this is what is governed under Identity and Access Management. Quickly pull up the IAM topic for you. Also notice which region does it belong to. People, which region does this service belong to? Is it belonging to Ohio? It is global. Why? Very simple. If you are a user, I cannot bind you to a particular region, right? I cannot make you that only from this region, if you log in, you should be able to access it. I cannot bind it. That is why service itself is. How about now, people? Am I audible enough now to all of you? Right. Thank you.
Yes.
So the point I want to bring to the point is the understanding that you should have is identity access management will make or will help you to manage your users, manage your roles, manage your groups. Proper management with the help of identification for the user and the access for that user. This can be done. So I thought of discussing today because of the time. So I have to plan it for the next day. So we will plan it for the next day. We will discuss much in detail what is identity and access management, and we will start creating our users or access. But at the same time, what I want you people to do is I want you to do another deployment, another setup into your system, which is something like this. So open up your CMD and you need to go ahead and type AWS -- version. Now, for most of you people, it might not support this command when you type AWS -- version. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to connect using CLI. This is the web method, people. So this is your console. This is your console method. This is your console. See that console. Now this is your CLI method. So what you do is today you download AWS CLI and get started with the installation process. I'll explain you what is this all about. So to better understand this, let me show you another scenario. Another scenario is S3, same S3. People can see from console how many buckets do I hold, people, inside the account. People, how many buckets do I hold inside my account? 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 5 buckets. And these are the list of the buckets that I hold. So 5 buckets are listed and 5 buckets are shown up here. So now I'll run a small command. AWS S3, could you go ahead and list my buckets? AWS S3, there you go. Has listed my buckets. Now the question to be answered is, how does this CLI can fetch those buckets from Rachalla's account and how it is able to list those buckets? For this, we are dependent on using AWS CLI, which I want everyone to install. What you need to do is, people, just go ahead and download what is that called AWS CLI, which is, we call it as programmatic access or programmatic way of accessing your resources. So if you're falling under Windows, click Windows. If you're using any other operating system, so you have relevant packages for it. If you're using Mac OS PKG. If you're using Linux machines, that's good. If not, if you're using Windows, please download the 64-bit file, which is about, I guess, 28 MB, 25 MB. Download it. Okay. So the file download that you can see here is AWS CLI version 2.msi. Get started with the installation process. Okay. The good thing is it will set the installation for you automatically. You don't need to do anything towards the installation. It will check and it will continue the installation for you. So once after the installation, I'll tell you the steps to be followed. Next. So you can also see where exactly the CLI commands are getting installed. Under your C program file /Amazon is a folder it will create. Under that, it will create AWS CLI v2 version 2. Install it. So once this process is done, open up your CMD and confirm the working. So what you need to type is AWS -- version. So if you are able to get a response similar to this, not exactly similar to this, that means your CLI installation was successful. But in coming session, I'm going to show you the connection, how to use AWS CLI so that it can fetch your own buckets and list those buckets for you in CLI. Something we will explore it later. But people, make an attempt to create your own buckets also, if possible. Create your own buckets with a random name. It's very simple, right? Just go ahead and create a bucket. That would be a little useful for your practice purpose. Give a name for that bucket, a unique name. Let's say if you put test bucket, it will say a bucket already exists. You go ahead and create that bucket. It says bucket already exists. So bucket with the same name already. That means someone. So try to bring some uniqueness in your bucket name. This is very important. And then create a bucket. Then how to call that bucket, how to get that bucket, all that stuff we will do using CLI also, not only from the console. Right. Let me go back once again. So just go ahead and make an attempt to create your own bucket. Once again, create a bucket, give a unique name, put whatever the region that you want. Right now it might be showing you Bombay. Select Bombay, no worries. Next, keep all these things default at the same time. Create it. Possible, give a unique name which you can remember and easy for you to remember as well. So create your bucket so that you guys can use it whenever it is required. Don't worry about the charges. You won't get charged for the bucket at this moment because you have 5 gigabytes of storage. You are not going to store anything inside in it. So people, two tasks. One task is to install your AWS CLI. Make sure that gets installed, and you have to have your AWS CLI version running. So you should have this AWS CLI installation getting through. After that, if you just type in this command, you don't need to even set the path. AWS will set the path for you. AWS will set the path, and you will see once you run this, it will respond. So two things, people: create a sample bucket for yourself for your practice, and if possible, make sure that right. Install AWS said unable to find the command. Okay, let me understand this. What is the exact error? Are you getting it? Or can you reopen once again another CMD? Can you open up another CMD? Right. So open up another CMD. Just now open up another CMD and type it out. It will work for you. Because when you use the previous CMD, it's still referring to the previous session. Please open up another CMD, type AWS -- version. I'm hoping this time it should work. So please, guys, make an attempt to get your CLI installation done. Thank you. It worked? Fine. So please get your CLI installation done and also have your bucket created so that you guys can practice it. And but regarding the connection, how to connect to AWS CLI and how to get it done, we will do little later. So that's all, guys, for today. I hope
I have one small
you'll be able to
question
get these things done.
Yes, do you
Right.
want us to create a bucket in S3 services or EC2, or else, I mean, we can create as general?
No, S3 is designed for buckets only. EC2 instances
Okay.
for machines, virtual machines. So just create inside
Okay.
S3. S3 is designed for buckets, like store you
So
get your
specifically,
account done.
buckets can be
Just for the
created only
practice,
in
just in
S3.
case, like right. S3 is a service designed to create buckets in the form of
Okay.
storage. Like it is designed to store your objects. Objects in the sense files, images, anything that you want to store. So for that, you need
Okay.
to create your buckets. So S3 is designed like that.
Okay.
Thanks, Abdul.
Yeah.
So what we'll do is using this buckets, we will call that bucket. We will see whether the bucket can be accessed. We'll see whether the bucket can be created. Bucket can be accessed with CLI. All that stuff little later for tomorrow, right? So that's all, guys, for today. Admin, I'm done for the recording as well. the admin.